Alexander the Great versus the Persian King Darius III, Part 2, the Battle of Issus. So in our last video, we saw Alexander the Great defeat the Persians at the Granicus River and punch his way into Anatolia. We're gonna continue to follow along with the story of Alexander and his ragtag army of Macedonians, Thurians, Greek mercenaries, and assorted others who are trying to take over the known world. So join us as we count down the top 10 moments of the Battle of Issus. Number 10. Alexander's army marches. So Alexander's victory at the Granicus was pretty decisive. He essentially destroyed the Persian left wing and forced them to retreat all the way back to the capital of the region, which was at that time called Tarsus. But it was really more like modern-day Iskenderun. So Alexander's army marched on them and set up camp near the village of Issus. And while Alexander was setting up camp, Darius was doing the same thing just a few miles away. Number 9. The Scout. So the next day, after both armies were set up, Alexander sent out a group of elite cavalrymen to scout out the Persian army. And they found them. They found the entire Persian army encamped near the city. Alexander would later say that he never wanted to fight an army that was behind a wall, so he decided to march on them and get them out of their defensive fortifications. Number 8. Darius's elite guard. So Darius had a huge army. It's estimated that he had between 50 and 70,000 troops. But his personal guard was even more elite. They were called the Immortals. Now these guys were elite infantrymen who were immortalized by Herodotus. He said that no matter how many immortals died in battle, they were replaced so quickly that it was like they were immortal. So there's your immortality. You know what? It's not that bad. Number 7. The battle lines up. So when Alexander and Darius faced off, they lined their armies up, basically exactly like we see in paintings. This is the standard classical Greek battle formation. On the right wing, you have the heavy infantry, the guys that can take a lot of punishment and hold a line. In this case, they were the Macedonian phalangites. Then on the left wing were the light infantry, quicker, more maneuverable guys who could flank and harass the enemy. In this case, the companion cavalry. And in the center was the heavy cavalry, powerful shock troops who could break through enemy lines. For the Persians, this role was filled by the Immortals, but for the Greeks, it was filled by the companion cavalry, who were the closest thing that the Greeks had to heavy infantry. These guys were elite soldiers who were personally picked by Philip II or Alexander to serve in the king's personal bodyguard. Now these guys were expensive to maintain. They lived off the land when they were traveling and were given booty from conquered cities. But they were definitely the shock troops of the army. Number 6. Battle begins. So as battles usually did at this time period, the battle began with both sides sending out their cavalry to do battle. Now there's one interesting thing about Alexander's cavalry. While most armies kept their cavalry for shock troops, Alexander used his cavalry like light infantry, sort of like a battering ram. His plan was to use his companion cavalry to break open holes in the Persian infantry lines and then pour his infantry through those holes. And that's exactly what he did. His cavalry hit the Immortal center squarely and broke their lines. Once the center was broken, the Greek phalangites poured through the opening and attacked the Persians on their right flank. Number 5. Parmenion. So as all of this was happening, one of Alexander's generals named Parmenion was also exploiting an opening on the other side of the battlefield. Now, if you've seen any of our videos before, you might be familiar with Parmenion. He was a veteran general who was the mentor to Alexander. He was actually the guy who raised Alexander after his father, Philip II, was assassinated. He was the one who brought Alexander into the army and taught him the skills he needed to be a great general. If you want to learn more about Parmenion, check out our video on the Battle of Granicus, where he was the star. But here he's almost overshadowed by Alexander, but he still does a great job leading the Macedonian army. Number 4. The King of Macedon attacks. So as the battle rages, Alexander finds himself in a tight spot. The companion cavalry has pushed deep into the Persian army, but now they're surrounded and being attacked on all sides. But Alexander doesn't panic. Instead, he does something totally normal. He takes his horse and charges into the middle of the action. Now, the companion cavalry sees their king charging into the thick of battle. And of course, they rally around him and charge once more, breaking through the Persian lines and chasing them all the way back to their camp. Number 3. Darius flees. So while all of this is going on, Darius is observing the battle from the relative safety of his chariot. But after seeing his army broken twice, he decides to hightail it out of there and get away. As soon as he leaves, though, his chariot is immediately attacked by some cavalrymen, and he barely escapes with his life. Now, according to Plutarch, one of Darius's cavalrymen pulled him out of the chariot and saved his life. So Darius took that guy, put him on a golden throne, and paraded him around the next city that he captured. But that's not important right now. Darius managed to escape, but not before losing his crown and his royal regalia. Alexander would later have a pair of golden sandals made from the Persian king's royal garments, and he wore them as a symbol of his conquest. Number 2. The aftermath. So Alexander won a decisive victory at the Battle of Issus. He pursued Darius's fleeing army, but his men were exhausted, so he didn't catch up with them. Darius would later regroup and raise another army and win a battle against Alexander's brother, but that would be years later. For now, he fled to the city of Susa and gathered his strength. Alexander would later lay siege to the city, but when its inhabitants offered him the treasure of the Persian king, he would call off the siege and let them keep Darius alive, probably because he wanted to use Darius as a pawn in future negotiations. And finally, number 1, Alexander the Great is a movie. Now, Alexander wasn't called Alexander the Great just because he was tall. Okay, maybe that too. But more importantly, he was called Alexander the Great because he did great things. He was a military genius who conquered most of the known world. He was a people's champ, always hanging out with the commoners, getting drunk and partying. He was a great leader who inspired awe and terror in equal measure. But he was also a human being. He got tired and sad and lonely sometimes too. He missed his family and friends back home. He wondered about the point of it all. And he knew that he would die young and leave his empire in the hands of his generals, hoping that they would be worthy of the legacy that he left behind. Unfortunately, they weren't. But you can find out more about them in our video on the Diadochi Wars. Thanks for watching. Do you think Alexander the Great was destined to be great, or was it just good old-fashioned hard work? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe for more videos like this.